All right, welcome everyone. In this episode, we're going to unravel the power of building a professional network. And we'll discover why it's not just about who you know, but it's how those connections can open doors, create opportunities, and transfer your career trajectory. Tune in as we explore real stories, expert tips, and actionable advice on turning every interaction into a stepping stone toward your career success. So we're going to dive in here and we're going to invite our guest again, Anderson. You're the
You're right.
change champion, entrepreneur. You know, you're just a good guy here. Glad to have you back on the show again.
Thank you, Uriah. Thank you for that warm intro. I appreciate you. Hi, everybody. My name is Anderson Dinga. I'm a change champion, and I love the conversation that we've been having over the last three sessions, where we're empowering other IT people like us, people like us who started off early in their careers, empowering them with this type of knowledge. Having been 20 years in IT, I've been around the block, but there's still so much that I'm learning. So it's good to be here. It's good to have this session with you. It's always a pleasure when we can catch up, because it gives us also an opportunity for us to see each other. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, this time around we're talking about professional networks. You know what, what they are, why they're important, and how it's helped us. Personally, we were talking about before we jumped on. Why how it's helped us in our careers, and just building these connections and how we do it.
Yeah, yeah. I think back on when I started my career, and the mindset then was, it's about what and it was about chasing after the next certification and the next tool that you could use, whether it's antivirus, or the next code that you learn how to write, whether it's Python. It was about what you knew. And that got me very far in my career. What I knew got me very far. I remember years ago when I started at Harvard Law School, my job was help desk. And so what I knew was cleaning viruses out of computers, building Windows, the next Windows, upgrading Windows. It was all of that. But then as I progressed, I realized that at some point, you kind of hit a little bit of a ceiling. It wasn't so much about what I knew. And I mean, what I knew only kept me better in my role. It didn't really kept me moving further. So I had to change the way I thought about my career, and that's where networking came up. It was about who you knew, um, getting out there, connecting with people, learning about what they did, whether or not it was interested in to me, just learning about what they did and who they were and why they got to where they were. It was just like that type of curiosity about it. And sometimes we talk about professional networking, and it seems like it's just super complicated thing, but really it came out of a place of curiosity. I was curious to find out what would get me to the next level. Well, there was a lot of people out there who had got to that next level. So all I needed to do was just to find them and ask them. So I started finding them and asking them. And then I kept moving on in my career. And then I kept finding better challenges to. So anyway, so yeah, that's how I got to really valuing professional networking as a way of career growth, as a way of career development. Getting yourself out there, just like we've been doing over the last three sessions.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm thinking about, I didn't even know what it really was when I first started my career out, and I just it happened, and I didn't really know what it was happening. Where I was finishing up my college, I was in my last semester. I was towards the end of my last semester, like wrapping up, getting into finals and everything. And I had a friend who worked for a company that I liked before, and I even went to visit him one time during lunch. I was like, "Oh, this is a cool place. I'd love to work here one day." And it was Citrix. And so he showed me around, and I really liked it, like the office environment and stuff. And he knew I was still in college, but he knew I was going to be finishing college coming up in the summer. So what they internally they would have an intern program, and they were blasted out to everybody, "Hey, we're having an intern program if you know any people that would fit these different, like, marketing, maybe finance," and they had one for IT. So when my friend saw that, he was like, "Hey," like, our he wasn't in IT, he was in finance, but he says, "Hey, our we have an intern program, and they're looking for someone in IT, and I know that's what you're going to school for. I know that's what you wanna get into, like, apply for this role." I was like, "Alright, I'm still in school right now. I'm not even done yet, but yeah, sure, go ahead." So I applied for it, and, um, and it helped because I had the referral of my friend who worked at the company. So when they reviewed my application, I put my friend's name down. So when the IT director was reviewing the applications, he's like, "Oh," his name was David, and he said, "David," he says, "Okay, let me call David." So he called David, my friend, and he called him and said, "Hey, do you know this guy Uriah?" He's like, "Yeah, I know him. He's a good guy." So it kind of got me like a foot in the door a bit. And so I ended up like interviewing for the job, and I was still still finishing like my last few weeks of school, and they ended up liking me, and they said, "Yeah, we'll give you an intern spot here at Citrix." And they're like, "When do you want to start?" I was like, "I'm not even done with school yet. Like, let me finish up." And so I already had like an internship lined up before I was even like finished with school, and so that really helped. I had a job lined up, and I think I took a week off. It's like, well, give me a week, like to between finishing school and starting work right away. But that really helped, and just it's just who I knew, and just made them aware that like, "Hey, yeah, I'm studying IT, I wanna get in a job in this field and stuff," and not just I didn't talk to just one person, but I talked to a lot of different people, and it just so happened that this one person was able to build that connection that got me into my first real, you know, job in the field that I was going to school for.
That's dude, that's brilliant. And I can be a testament to the fact that you carried that ability to build networks throughout your career, because as a BRM, that was literally your role, is to go and network with other people at other parts of the organization and find out what are they struggling with and bring those requests back to IT so we be customers, or we could be service providers to them. So kudos to you for keeping that up. Are there any tangible, like, do you find that in your research there's actually any tangible research that says professional networking is beneficial to anybody? And like, is there any value to this stuff that we're talking about, or are we just are we just
Yeah.
two older guys here just like spitballing
Well, yeah, actually, I was looking at this article on Forbes, and here, I'll bring it up here. And here it's highlighted that they were talking about
Oh, cool.
professional networking. And here, just the highlighted part, I'll read it. It says, "Many experts suggest at least 80% of all jobs are filled through a professional network connection."
Oh
So
wow.
that's pretty high.
Oh wow, yeah. 80%.
Yeah. I didn't think it was that high.
Pretty high. No, me neither.
Yeah, so it just goes to show how
Crazy.
important it is to just, just connecting. I mean, I'm interviewing for people, and I'm asking like, "Hey, do you know anybody that, that you think might be a good fit?" It doesn't mean we're automatically going to hire them, but, just having that connection there is like it gives you just like a little bit of street cred, I guess, that
That's
that
yeah, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's modern day street cred, but in the corporate
yeah. So yeah,
modern day street cred.
talking about, building relationships, how important that is, with people. Like you said, you can learn a whole bunch of stuff, but it's also not just the skills, but the people that, you build these relationships with over time. And they may not even be uh people you worked with, but just people you know. You could, and your friends or whoever, family, and you're just building these relationships, letting what you're working on. And it may not be nothing may come from it, but it may be later on that something may come from it. You just never know in the future what kind of what things can come up later on. So that's why it's always good to, keep in touch with people too. Like check in with people, see how they're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had a guy talk about just checking in with people. I had a guy send me a text message couple days ago, a guy who he had given me some professional coaching like 2, 3 years ago, and it was on point. Like his coaching was so on point, super valuable, and I got a lot out of him. But then I've not heard back from him, and I've not had to reach out to him since then. And then 2 days ago, I got a text message from him, and man, like it got me so excited. And I was thinking about it. He asked me, he was like, "Is there anything that I can do for you?" And I was thinking about it, and I was like, "Absolutely, yeah. I'm writing a book, and I'd love to publish a book." And you know what he said? He's like, "I actually published a book."
Oh, wow.
I just out of the blue. So it's so fascinating. So he's gonna definitely help me out with some of the editing, and at least not necessarily the tactical steps around it, but some of the strategy that goes around it. But that's a somebody who I had an interaction with, two interactions with 3 years ago. And because they thought about me and because they had me in mind, they sent me a text message proactively, not even realizing that I had something going on. And now we have an opportunity out of that. So it's really, really valuable to keep in touch with people. And you said something earlier that I caught on, Uriah, which is it matters who you keep in your circle. Yes, it does matter. I am constantly curating my network and making sure that I stay in touch, making sure that those people stay fresh, whether it's sending them an email once a week or sending them a text message once a month or just having a way to FaceTime with them at least once, just making sure that they know that they are top of mind for you. It matters. It's not just when you need something with them. It's so that part is really, really important. Now talk to me about personal branding and what role that has to play in professional networking.
Yeah, and, we may think like, "Well, I'm not in marketing." What are you talking about branding? But whether or not we're in marketing or not, we're always building a personal brand, and that's, what people think of you, when they say, "Oh, Anderson or Uriah," what do they think about? What comes to mind? And you wanna build a good brand for yourself, and that's, from your interactions with people, that's how well you do your job, and, people remember that, or when you go out of your way to help someone, they're like, "Oh, wow, thanks for helping me, I owe you one." And then they remember that. That builds your personal brand, that builds your street cred like we are talking about, and so they're like, "Oh, okay," like, so you when you do this over and over again, you build this personal brand with not, maybe not just your manager, your team members, but even outside, other departments, other companies and stuff, other people you've had interactions with. And so that personal brand that you build for yourself, it's a good one. Then when you are maybe you're in some need or something like, oh, like I want to go help that person. Like you said, with that person that just texts you, you probably had some good interactions with them that they remembered as like, oh, I know Anders is a good guy. I want to help him. So that's the importance of building a personal brand, whether we know we're doing it or not, we're building one right now.
Yeah. And you're right. Yeah, you don't have to be in marketing. You don't have to be in marketing to have a personal brand. There's so many benefits of having, and I'm not just talking about like when you go online, there's so many misconceptions of what a personal brand is. Some people think it's just having a resume or a LinkedIn profile. Yes, everybody could have a LinkedIn profile, but a personal brand says, I am this person, I am this identity. People know me as this. When I'm not in a room, this is what people say about me, right? So sometimes when you talk about your personal brand, when I'm not in a room, what do people say about me? And it's really important to leave a really good impression, right? Or to leave an impression with people. You don't want to just be just another IT, just another IT guy. you know, you want to be either the go-to person or I always know how a resourceful IT person or I always find the answer for you, or even if I don't have the answer, I could find somebody who can do it for you, IT person. That could be your identity. So having to build that brand around yourself, what is your value? What are your values? I'm the guy who gets things done quickly, or I'm the person who always gives you the right answer. It might not be the best answer, but it's the right answer, right? things like that. There's so many different ways where you can build out your personal brand. Your values are one thing to pay attention to. Um, your niche, your expertise. Some people are good with Windows, some people are good with Mac. You could be the cloud IT guy. you know, so many different niches in IT where you could dominate. You could be the email guy. There's so many areas. So, yeah, that's the power of building a personal brand in IT.
Yeah. I also think too, just, it not just technically, but it could be like, oh, that person's a good listener. Like, I know that person will listen me out and stuff. And, just, and being yourself too, being authentic is really important because people can sniff out when you're being fake. And so, having that real authentic personal brand is good.
Yeah, so much of the time we talk about the hard skills, right? Like I so go in on the hard skills, like the cloud, the email, and all of those. But we have a lot of IT leadership today, and with IT leadership, it's just like with an IT professional, your listening skills, your empathy, it's huge. How do you build relationships with people? It's by giving and receiving. Give information, you receive information. You can't be a good listener. You can't receive information if you're not a good listener. So it's practicing your communication skills. It's the hard skills, but yes, it's also the soft skills that go with it.
Right. Yeah. So, where would we post this personal brand? We're talking about building this personal brand. I mean, obviously, one of them is LinkedIn. There's
Yeah.
millions and millions of people on LinkedIn. You and I, we both have a LinkedIn page. But I think you were talking about there's even other places that we can build these professional networking connections.
Huge. I mean, we lose sight of the fact that in person still exists. We still have in person, having a business card. I know some people still think it's old school, but business is still done over business cards today because it's a piece of information that you can look at. It sits on your desk. You can look at it. It reminds you of that person. Having something tangible that you can leave with somebody when you go to a networking event. Because I know
Yeah.
a lot of us, the world is now open. It's post pandemic, right? The world is back open. Get out there to some networking events. Events are amazing place, right? And how do you find those events? There are apps like Meetup or Eventbrite, or I'm sure there's a plethora of different apps that you can find online where you could find either a meetup like a community or an event that's going on which you can attend. Of course, there's conferences and all of that stuff, but grab something tangible that you can leave with people.
Mm,
Now, of course, like if you're more new school and you want more of a digital business card, I'm sure there's a digital business card out you can
yeah.
find out there just to create a profile for yourself so you can leave a piece of you with that person so they can remember you. Right. So that would be my number one thing or my number two thing. Um, but where do you show your brand? LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is where most professionals I think network nowadays. It's got millions and millions of professionals of different industries and different geographies connecting with each other. I think you can go on LinkedIn and find pretty much anybody across the globe. So it would be a good place for you to showcase your personal brand. And for me, my two cents is like if you've never been on LinkedIn and you go on for the first time, one of the first things that you want to do is just create your profile, but keep it really simple. There's probably three pieces of information which you want to make sure that it's on point, right? Have a nice profile picture so your face is, your face is visible. It's not dark. It's not you with a bunch of your friends in a high school picture. It's you and it's clearly you and it's visible. Having a profile picture, a professionally done one, not a selfie, but definitely having a nice picture helps. It goes a long way. Having your name on there. I've seen so many profiles that just do not have the person's real name, and I'm like, who's the person I'm talking to? I have no idea who this person is. Putting your real name on there, it does matter. It does go a long way to showcase you as a professional. And then there is the headline section, the what you call is the above the fold section,
Oh,
where you
yeah.
can put a little description, a little blurb about you. don't make it a whole book, Make it make it a nice summary so people can read that and right away, boom, they want to know more about you. Because people don't have the attention span, these like 8 seconds, and they're moving on to the next profile, right? And recruiters love looking at that section and making that interaction with the candidate. So just some
There's
tips there. Yeah, just a couple of tips. Meet in person, but if you're doing it online, LinkedIn. Oh, one more. Clubhouse. So I found out that while we want to do a lot of professional networking, like the engagements, like liking and following and sharing people's posts and things like that, Clubhouse provided an extra bit of social audio. Like you can have these audio conversations with people from anywhere around the globe. And so I would advise any professional out there who's not really checked out Clubhouse, check it out. It may give you an extra, network of people to connect with. Entrepreneurs love it, and I'm part of an entrepreneurial group right now in Clubhouse. And
oh wow.
every day we go on there and we learn different tips and tricks and business tools that can allow us to move our businesses forward. So yeah, there's no shortage of tools out there, Uriah. And I wonder, what are you finding valuable for you right now when you think about where your personal brand ends up?
Um, well, actually, it's kind of interesting. I'm actually exploring new areas. Like, yeah, one is LinkedIn, but one is YouTube. Like what we're doing right now. We're sharing our experiences, our thoughts, and other reactions to news that's happening and stuff. So that's one way too. Building out,
Yeah.
like a YouTube channel about topics that you're passionate about, things that like, yeah, like or that you know a bit about too. And that's one another way building your personal brand. But I definitely like, bring it back to the people too, like the interactions that you have with people and even having a business card. I remember I left when I was doing my own consulting, I did have business cards. I don't have them anymore, but when I was doing the consulting and I was giving them out, and then I remember someone called me, I was like, "Hey, I need some help. Can you come over to my office and, come over?" So I and I came over, I was helping him and he had kind of like a messy desk, a bunch of papers all over and everything. But then I saw my card there, like right underneath his monitor. I was like, "Oh, like that's where he probably remembered." He was like,
Exactly.
I gave him the card, he probably threw it on the table, and he's like, "Oh, I'm having computer problems," and then he saw my card, he's like, "Oh, let me call you right up." So that was powerful about the business card. I had actually forgotten about that.
Yeah, sometimes when I talk about business card, I think I'm going to get chastised for it. But a lot of times when I talk about it, I hear people tell me incredible stories of how they actually closed deals because they handed somebody their business card months ago or years ago, and they found that card while rummaging through some stuff or while like in a desperation, and that was exactly when they needed that person, and they called them and they solved the problem and happily ever after. It doesn't always happen that way, but hopefully these are all just little tips and tricks that you can use to showcase your personal brand wherever you are. There's no one size fits all. A few months ago, I met a guy who was from um, Venezuela, and he has never been on social media. He doesn't have an Instagram account. He doesn't have a YouTube. He chooses not to be on any social. He's a personal trainer, and all he does is WhatsApp. That's it. So when you talk about professional networking, he's been able to build for himself a really tight knit group of people through word of mouth and use that group of people to get his value out there to be held. So there is no one size fits all. We're just sharing tips and tricks here. LinkedIn is an amazing platform to use, but you don't have to use it. The network that you've got is an amazing network that you can continue to nurture and grow. But I love your thoughts about the business card. We'll
Yeah.
continue to share that.
Yeah, and thinking about, like you're kind of talking about referrals too. When
Yeah.
you're recommending people or you get recommendations, you know, tell me a little bit about the power of referrals that can help in your networking, like how that piece works.
When we worked in corporate IT, there was something called a referral bonus. Referrals are good on so many different levels. Referral says, I know you, I know what you're about. I've worked with you, Uriah. I know the quality of your work and I can stand behind it. So here, I'm going to go be a champion of Uriah to the next hiring manager who comes to me. That's what referral says,
Yeah.
right? So don't underestimate the power of building your network, because when the time comes for you to use that network to get you to that next level, then they are there. They're ready to go. I'll tell you, years ago, I was working in IT at Forrester Research, a tech company out of Cambridge, Massachusetts. And at the time, I was climbing through my career. I was doing really, really well. I had no idea what was next for me. I'd just taken on that role and I had no interest whatsoever leaving that role just yet. But when I started that company, I was using a tool called Log Me In. And LogMeIn was a tool that allowed me to remotely connect to people's computers and clean viruses from them and do all of that stuff. It was a great tool. And friends of mine were going to work for Apple and Facebook and Google and all of that. And I was like, how cool would it be to go work for this company, Logs Me In? you know, as an IT guy, how cool would it be? And so here I am on LinkedIn. I'm looking at different profiles and oh my goodness, I see this guy, Chris Perotti. He used to work at Forrest and now he works at Log Me In. Well, guess what? Years later, Chris Perotti ended up being my manager twice. Right? So so you talk about the power of referrals. It's so powerful on so many different levels. The opportunities that it could open for you are tremendous.
Yeah. And the point of, not just receiving referrals, but giving referrals, like people, like, hey, like, let me help you, like, yeah, I can give you a recommendation or referral or something. Or you can put me on your resume and giving those things out. And then, what you give out, you always get back. So, other people can help you out as well. I, and just, keep in touch with the people as well. So that, like we talked about earlier, you do stay on top of mind with them. I just, another one too, like the, you know, to get into my current job that I have now, I was, uh, I was, I was doing my own consulting thing, but I was starting looking for another full-time job with a corporation. And I was interviewing for a few places. And, um, And then I knew someone who I had worked with before, kind of like what you said, a previous manager. And he actually he got hired to another company. And then he said, hey, I'm at this new company and I have this open position and I thought of you. So I'm going to refer you to this job. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll check it out. And so I looked at it, the job description and stuff. It looked like it'd be a good fit. And it just kind of like, fast tracked me to get onboarded, uh, to this new company. It's just, there it goes back to like who and, building that personal brand. People think highly of you, like, hey, yeah, I seen this person's work. I know they're good at it. And I think they'd be a good fit here too. And then it just keeps on going. And, this cycle keeps on going of this networking that we have.
Totally. And it doesn't happen overnight, right? Like we're sharing experiences that we built over the course of 20 years, 30 years, maybe total. So it doesn't happen overnight, but to make a conscious effort, just like you set your goals, set a goal for it. I want to meet a new person once a week or once a month, or I want to meet somebody outside of my comfort zone, outside of my department. Create some strategies around it too. It doesn't have to always be, people who are in IT who you want to talk to. Meet somebody in sales, meet somebody in HR, meet someone in facilities. I know IT, HR, facilities always work closely with each other. Get out of that zone, right? Like go talk to someone in marketing. Understand how personal branding works.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, man, we always have good conversations. I really appreciate, you jumping on, getting onto these episodes here with me. And I really think, when people, I've heard other people say, hey, I saw your podcast and stuff, like, oh, that's good stuff. So, I mean, we could just keep on bringing it, until
Yeah, no
people
doubt.
tell us to shut down.
No doubt. Yeah, I love it. I love what we're doing. I love that we're empowering others like us who are early on in their careers. And I love again that we have an opportunity to see each other every week and doing one of these. So thank you. Thank you for being a champion of networking, of IT leadership. And I hope that we have empowered you out there watching this. I hope that we've empowered you with this session. Maybe you've got a few laughs. Maybe you now have a few tips and tricks that you can use to nurture your network. And of course, if you have any questions, do reach out. You know, we're available on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on a lot of the social media. So don't be shy to reach out if you have any questions. If you're early on in your career, or even if you're a veteran in your career and you want to share some of the tips and tricks that you've learned, it doesn't hurt to reach out. So thank you, Uriah, for everything that you do. I'm really grateful for you. And best of luck.
Yeah, yeah, thank you, man. Well,
All right.
until the next time, take care,
Till
man.
next time. All right. Take
Okay,
care. Cheers.
bye.
All right.